All right, welcome to another episode of YB's Collaboration Corner as a part of the Self-Published in 30 Days. I am your host, Rob YB Youngblood, your LinkedIn locksmith, the president of sales for Self-Published in 30 Days. And I have the awesome Deborah Delgado here, someone that I've had the pleasure of working with over the last several months. And I want to give her the opportunity to share a little bit about who she is, what she does, and who she's looking to collaborate with. So Debbie, welcome to the YB's Collaboration Corner. How you doing today?
How you doing, Rob? I'm doing great. Thank you for the invite too. It's amazing.
My pleasure, my pleasure. You are making some major moves. So I want to get right to it. Debbie, tell the listeners and the watchers who you are and what you currently do.
So who I am, first of all, I'm a mom, a grandmom, and a loving friend, just so you know. And I think you've already experienced that. In terms of what do, I'm a career coach and a business consultant. On the career coach side, what I focus on is inspiring, igniting Latina women and Asian women from both the Middle Eastern and Far East cultures to really ignite what's within them so they could really make things happen in their career.
That is amazing. That's amazing. So Debbie, how did you get started as a coach and what prompted you to want to work with Latina and Asian women?
So how did I get started? First of all, I have 30 years experience in corporate. So I was a leader in corporate as well. And I was always coaching people, not only on my team, but across the matrix organization. For those of you who are not familiar with the term matrix, meaning I worked for a large corporation, a lot of business units and small departments from each area. And I would work to collaborate with them from all different levels. And I used to love to see people who had so much fire inside of them, but they didn't know how to really ignite it. And that's what inspired me to get into the coaching business. So after leaving my job, after 30 years, I decided to start a coaching business.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So now you're in the coaching space and you're working with these women. What has been your greatest experience as a coach? Like if you had to think about the time that you've been, working with folks, what would you say is the greatest experience that you've had as a coach at this point?
It's interesting because there was a young lady from Asia, Far East, and I'm not going to say names because these are private conversations, but she really wanted to make a move and she felt like her leader was holding her back. And in reality, it was herself. And when you start to probe, because one of the things that I do is I probe a lot of questions because I don't want to give them the answers. I mean, if they need me to give them the answers, I can, but I probe because what I prefer is if they start to answer questions within that almost make them so uncomfortable. Sometimes they cry, sometimes they don't. But this one young lady, she became very uncomfortable with the questions I asked her that day. And she says, you know what, can I take some time and get back to you? And sure enough, she did within a few days. And she shared with me, Debbie, because of you, I realized I was holding myself back. I took a stand. I posted for a job that I never thought I would even try. And it was in the area that you had said to me, what do you love to do? So not only did I get the job, but I love what I'm doing. And when you see someone really take action and break that glass or whatever they have inside that's like really holding them back, that's what made me feel good. And I do that with a lot of my clients because it's so important not to give answers. It's so important for an individual to find the answer within.
I love it. I love it. And so have you experienced that even in yourself? Obviously, you're coaching people. Have you found that type of experience within coaching experiences that you've had with people?
I'm going to say I had the experience with you. So let me share something. I'm not a technical person in the sense that I build a lot of things. I'm a very process-oriented individual. So when you and I were going over the LinkedIn processes and things like that, I got it. So to do it, it's easy. The problem was that I wasn't realizing that I wasn't taking advantage of my talent within my profile. And you started to probe. And then I was like, what have I done? I've held myself back, even in something simple like a post or a profile. And you did the same thing for me. You asked me questions and you opened up that. And wow, it's led to so much for me.
I love it. I love it. So that leads to like this next section. I love to talk to folks about collaboration. Obviously, you and I have collaborated. We've worked together. I've coached you. But when it comes to collaboration, what is your definition of collaboration?
So people tend to think that when you work with someone, that's collaboration. And yeah, it's kind of synonymous and things like that, but it's really not. Collaboration is really about learning who the individuals you're working with are, what motivates them, what talents do they have, what talents do they have that supplement you because or complement you. You don't have, when I say you, I mean everyone.
Right.
Not there's not one individual on this earth that has every talent that they need.
Right.
So they need to be complemented by other people. So it's about learning that talent that helps you rise and helps them rise as well as you serve them. So to me, collaboration is about learning about each other, working together to a common goal, and also celebrating. So this way you win together.
Right.
That is the true definition of collaboration and building trust, of course.
I love that. So winning together and building trust, which is truly, truly amazing when it comes to, building those long-term relationships. Let's talk a little bit about, what are some of the challenges that has come as a result of being a coach? Obviously we can talk about the positive things, the impact, but when it comes to those challenges that you face, because most of the people that are watching this are folks that are also coaches, they're authors, they're aspiring entrepreneurs. So talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you've had to overcome as a coach to get the results that you're currently getting.
So I think there's like personal challenges that you have. You have to put yourself out there more than normal, right? I'm not a video person. I could go on Zoom. I'm not scared of the camera and things like that. Right. But you have to go on video more with individuals. You may have to do some posts on live and things like that. To me, that's a little bit of a challenge just because I don't feel comfortable about it. That could be body image. It could be many other reasons. And I'm going to put myself out there and be vulnerable. Right. Who cares? And it's something that I've overcome. I'm getting better at it. So that's one challenge. The other challenge is really soliciting people. You don't solicit. You don't solicit. That's the biggest challenge that a lot of people have when they're starting their businesses and things like that. You have to build that rapport, that trust with individuals that they feel like they want to work with you. You start to attract people. And until you realize that it's not about the salesy game, it's more about building a relationship where people feel comfortable to be vulnerable. That is so important. So that's something I had to learn early on. I came from a sales organization where I used to coach the sales organization. Right. So it's a very different mindset, So to me, it was shifting that mindset to get out of that sell. Now it's about serve,
Right. I love it. So I gotta address the elephant in the room, right? So I know where you're from. I love your accent, but folks may be listening and saying, well, she has an accent. Where are you from originally, Debbie?
So my background is born and raised in the Bronx. So I have a very strong Bronx accent, as you do. Now, actually, you don't anymore, but it comes out from time to time. And that's how I figured it out that day we talked. But my family's from Puerto Rico. So I speak both English and Spanish. And sometimes I interchange it. And I speak the Spanglish that people say, oh, you shouldn't do that. You know what? It is who I am. I love who I am. I love my culture. I love being an American, a Puerto Rican, and a Bronxite. You know what I mean?
I love it. See, the beautiful thing about this experience and our relationship, Debbie, is the fact that we were able to connect on multiple levels. But what really solidified it was the fact that we were from a common place, right? And so, a big part of collaboration, like you said, to build that trust, to have that common win, to be able to help each other win. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about when it comes to collaboration, when it comes to building those connections, who do you look to collaborate with? So obviously you're in a growing coaching business. You're doing some great things, some training. When it comes to you looking for the right people to collaborate with, whether it's clients or whether it's folks to come work with you, what do you look for when it comes to collaboration?
Let me talk about the non-client collaboration, because I think the non-client collaboration is so important to understand.
Right.
There are people who say, I don't want to collaborate with other coaches because they could eat in my space. Right. And that's an ignorant way to think about it. I look to follow coaches that are successful in the area to emulate them, not to copy them, but to emulate, because I'm unique in my own self, right? So how do I emulate I want to admire them. I want to learn from them. There's things that they've done because they've been in business much longer than I, that I can emulate and learn from to accelerate the process, right? It's no bet. There's the best thing to do is accelerate. Why start from scratch when it's done, right? So to me, I think looking to link with other coaches, but also in the corporate world, I also look to connect with old leaders of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I reconnect with them, but I connect with new leaders who may be in the diversity and inclusion space.
Okay.
And why? Because I'm focused on the Latina and the Asian community, because I want to help lift them. You know, I want to help get them out of that shell that they have. Oh, and some of it's not because they're doing it on purpose or they don't have it within. It's the culture. We're taught to be quiet, you know, put your eyes down when you're speaking to someone else, you know, looking straight at the camera is something that people are really uncomfortable with. Like if you speak to a population of Latinas who haven't been in the corporate world for so long, a lot of them tend to put their eyes down.
Right.
And you know what? It's not a disrespect. It's a matter of respect that they're giving you because they're listening with full intention.
Right.
So this is something, there's a lot of Latinas out there, Asians, and I mean Indians as well, because I have a lot of Indian clients that I've worked with, that their cultures are similar. It's about respect, you know, and you put your head down and you be very grateful to the person who helps you.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. No, I think it's so important, you know, and it's funny because a couple of weeks ago, my family went to go see In the Heights. I don't know if you had a chance to see that yet.
No, not yet.
Oh, you gotta go. You gotta go see it. It's a tremendous celebration of Hispanic culture, but just New York culture as well. But with that being stated, I want to talk about your favorite movie, right? So I always ask these kind of like, you know, rapid fire questions. So last episode, I talked to somebody about their favorite author and favorite book. So if you had to identify your favorite, let's say movie, and yeah, let's talk about that. Let's identify what's your favorite movie that you've ever watched out in all time. What's your favorite movie?
So I'm going to say something real quick. Hopefully I don't take up too much time, but I used to work in the theaters in the Bronx when I was a teenager.
Really? Which one in particular?
In the Palace and the Circle.
Okay.
Right by Parkchester area. Okay. They're not, I don't think either one of them are there anymore.
Right.
My favorite movie is West Side Story.
West Side Story. Okay,
Always.
Good. Now, have you seen? No, now that was a play first, right? Or was it?
It was a play way back with Rita Moreno. One, I love her. I adore that lady. I just liked West Side Story since I was a really young kid because that movie is old.
Right.
My kids bought it for me for Christmas a few years back.
Really?
And yeah, and I'm waiting for them to come out with a Rita Moreno doll because what I have is a collection of a doll and their book and movie.
Okay.
If they're very famous, for example, Maya Angelou and things like that. But going back to West Side Story, the reason why I love West Side Story is because it was during a time when there was culture clashes, and seeing people unite at the end was something that really was moving for me.
Wow.
And it was important. And you know, what's interesting is after all these years, there might not be the culture classes in that manner where you see the gang fights and things like that against the different cultures, but there's still culture clashes going on. And when I see that, I think about when is the time that we're going to see the uniting going on, because we all have so much to offer and help each other with that. To me, that's why that movie is important.
Yeah, I love it. And, you know, it's amazing that you even tied that into even the conversation, because even within West Side Story, there had to be some collaboration, right? So, you know, you have people that were battling each other, but then it's like they had to come together. So I love that you were able to pull those pieces together. So what I want to give the listeners an opportunity to connect with you. So obviously you shared who you'd like to collaborate with, but let's say if somebody's watching or listening to this, they want to collaborate with you, where is the best place for them to find you, and how would you want them to connect with you, Debbie?
Well, first of all, the great thing that I learned from you guys is do a personalized LinkedIn URL. You can find me, Deborah, Deborah, because it's not Debra, it's Deborah -Delgado on LinkedIn. You could connect with me, feel free. I will send you also a link, deborahdelgado.as.me. So you could schedule 30 minutes. I'm more than willing to sit down and talk to you a little bit about your career or anything you want to talk about. You know, it's up to you. you let me know, and then you learn more about me and I'll learn more about you.
I love it. Make sure when you reach out to Debbie, send that personalized note. Now I'm calling her Debbie, so you don't want to reach out and call her Deborah. Say Deborah, call her Deborah. I get to call her Debbie. She and I work well together. She might let you call her Debbie once you connect with her for the first time. But listen, this has been a great experience, Debbie. I'm so glad that we were able to get you on to the show. I do have one final question for you. Say, for example, if you had the opportunity to write your best-selling book, right? Where would you write? Where in the world would you go to write your best-selling book?
So I started writing my book already.
Okay.
And I did it here, but if I had a place to go to, I would go where I could sit by the pool, or that's near a beach with palm trees.
Any particular place? So if you had, because I had someone, they said that they would go to Italy, right? And then I had another person, she told me she would go to the Bahamas and have a glass floor over the water and sit and write and you know, have her drink. So where, any place in the world you would want to go where there's a pool and a beach?
So it's interesting because I love Italy, but I would always want to go to Spain.
Okay.
And I would like to be kind of in a mountainous area, though. For me, the nature is something I connect with, and the greenery.
Right.
So I would love to sit, you know, in a patio area with all the beautiful trees. A flamboyant is a tree that has these little pink fuchsia flowers. Some of them are red, where they hang over me and give the breeze where I could feel it going well.
I love it. I love it. Listen, Debbie, I'm so glad that you were able to come on. And definitely, for those of you watching, listening, definitely connect with Debbie. Connect with her on LinkedIn, Deborah Delgado. Remember to tell her that you heard about her through the YB's Collaboration Corner, which is sponsored by Self-Published in 30 Days. I'm your host, Rob YB Youngblood, your LinkedIn locksmith. And listen, speaking of LinkedIn, join us every Thursday on Clubhouse at 12 p.m. Eastern, where we have LinkedIn for authors. So we invite authors to come on, aspiring authors to come on, and let's talk about how to increase your visibility, credibility, and profitability using your book. So it's been a pleasure. Debbie, we'll talk to you soon. Be encouraged, be blessed. Most of all, continue to share the faith, and come again for the next episode of YB's Collaboration Corner. We'll talk soon. Peace.
Be blessed. Thank you.